Thank you all for joining the Gwinnett NAACP for our Meet the Candidate Forum on Superior Court Judge of Gwinnett County. We have some excellent guests coming on. Judge and current incumbent Angela Duncan and attorney B.T. Parker are the two running for this particular position. A couple of reminders real quick, and I'll be brief since we're going to jump right into the program. May 2nd is the start for early voting. Most polling locations will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And you will have Sunday as well as Saturday voting available on May the 7th and 8th, and then also May 14th and 15th. So those will be the 2 days you can vote on Saturday and Sunday for early voting for this election. Of course, we have judicial elections, which we're highlighting today, one of the elections for the judicial race. Make sure you scroll to the bottom of your ballot in order to see that. Please choose a particular partisan ballot if you do plan on voting in a Republican or Democratic race. If you choose a nonpartisan ballot and you wanted to vote in a particular Republican race or Democratic race, you will not be able to. You will only be able to vote for those nonpartisan elections, which happen to be school board, depending on your district, and the judicial races. So if you do have a particular race that you're interested in voting in that's either represented by the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, please choose a Republican or Democratic ballot for this year's primary elections. And remember, the nonpartisan races will be at the bottom of that particular ballot. So make sure you scroll all the way down to make sure you're not missing anything in terms of the races. Without further ado, more remarks to our president before we bring our guests into the room to answer.
Okay. Good afternoon, beloved community. Good afternoon, beloved community. Vice President Paul wanted to make sure that you knew this information coming and going. Before we start, we want to do a little housekeeping. And with that, we just want to lift up and start in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you have made. We will rejoice and be glad. Thank you for our community who has come out, Lord God, to listen, to learn. Father, we ask that this be a safe space. We ask that we collaboratively speak and speak from our hearts for the good of the people, for the good of the community. We bless you for what you are about to do today. We hope that it opens up doors and bring knowledge and assists in us living in this place we call Gwinnett County. We pray this prayer. I pray this prayer to my God, Jesus. Please pray to your God. Amen. Ashe. Thank you, community. And we want to give our introductions to our candidates. Please keep your answers brief, 2 to 3 minutes. Our Judge Duncan has already let us know that she will have to leave. So we want to make sure that we can get in as many questions as possible. First, we'd like to introduce Judge Angela Duncan. If you would tell us give us a 2 to 3 minute remark about yourself.
Good evening, and thank you, President Poole and Vice President Paul, for having me on today. My name is Judge Angela Duncan, and I am your Division 11 Gwinnett County Superior Court Judge. I was appointed to the bench in 2020, and I have been your Superior Court Judge since then. Prior to that, I have been a judge for the last 22 years. I started in 1999 at the municipal court level for the cities of Chamblee. I then became a municipal court judge in the cities of Doraville for 10 years, Snellville for 10 years, Suwanee for 2 years, and Norcross for 17 years. Also during that time, I was a part-time magistrate judge here in Gwinnett County, working overnights at the jail. And did that for 12 years before 2016, when I became a full-time magistrate judge, presiding over Superior Court matters. So I have extensive training and experience and education on how to be a Superior Court judge, effective management and administration of the Superior Court judge in our cases. And I welcome all of you and thank you for your time and attention today. If you want to know more about me, you can go to duncanforgwinnett.com for any information.
Thank you for that answer. And now, Attorney B.T. Parker, if you would introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. Thank you both to the NAACP, President Poole, Vice President. Thank you all. And it's great to be a member of the NAACP. I am passionate about the mission and the vision. I am B.T. Parker, and I am running for Division 11. I have been in Gwinnett County for the past 26 years. My family, we've lived here. My husband, my daughter, and I, we live in Lawrenceville. The question is, why am I running for judge? I am running because I know that I will be fair to everyone. I have been a plaintiff's attorney, a defendant's attorney. I've worked in the civil arena and also in the criminal arena. I have prosecuted on behalf of the state, and I have been a defense attorney. One of the things that I am passionate about is the community. And because of that, I am the servant leader for justice who is bridging the gap between the community and the court. So let me tell you a little bit about that. As many of you know, I ran in 2020. I was less than 1 percentage point away from being in the runoff. However, during that time, I had 3 campaign platforms. One was with regard to second chances. A second was with regard to a prison prevention program. And a third was with regard to judicial efficiency. Well, here we are 2 years later, and 2 of my 3 campaign platforms have now been implemented in Gwinnett County. One of the things I am most proud of is our youth empowerment initiative. That is a combination of the Boys and Girls Club. I sit on that board. The Prison Doctor, I sit on that board as well. And at the behest of our district attorney, these organizations came together, a marriage, if you will, and out of such developed the Youth Empowerment Initiative. And so with that program, it helps to prevent those who, our youth rather, just our youth in general, from making bad decisions. For instance, the Prison Doctor was in jail for 20 years for carjacking. And so he's able to relate on a personal level to our youth. But just in general, my community involvement, my passion for the community has allowed me to bridge the gap between the community and the court. I am on the Northside Hospital Board, Come Clean Gwinnett. I'm a foster parent. I've been appointed by Jasper Watkins and Gwinnett County as vice chair of the Animal Advisory Council. I do a lot in Gwinnett County, including being ambassador for Gwinnett United Nations. I have a passion for, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'm talking too
thank
much.
you. We're striking the clock on you right now.
I'm sorry. I'll do better. I'm sorry.
That's quite all right. That's quite all right. So both of you gave us extensive information about yourselves. So we're just going to jump right into this.
And before we jump in,
for both of you.
Well, hold on, Penny. Before we jump in with the questions, let me just set the table for the audience who may not understand the jurisdictions of a superior court judge. I know for those of you who've watched our civic education trainings, y'all understand, but I'm going to do that real quick and then I'll let you jump into the question. So okay. Superior Court judge presides over all felony trials, divorces, equity cases, and matters regarding title of land. Yep. They may also have jurisdiction for civil law actions, misdemeanors, and other cases, and they may hear appeals from the lower courts. So that's pretty much covers a brief preview of what the role of a superior court judge does and what they cover. Go right ahead, President.
Thank you for that, Vice President Paul. And again, we have civic education on Saturday mornings. Go to our website, Facebook page to look at that schedule. So let's jump in here. Both of you gave us extensive information about your backgrounds and who you are, where you have been. Let me start with you first, Judge Duncan. Mm-hmm. Why should voters support you over your opponent?
I think the biggest thing I have is I am uniquely qualified in that most judges when they run, or most people when they run for election, as BT is, are experienced attorneys in our community, and my ladder to the Superior Court bench was a little bit different. Being a judge is not the same as being an attorney, and while you can certainly learn how to be a judge, I went a little bit of a different route by moving up the ladder, as it were, from the different level courts all the way up to the Superior Court. And because of that, because of those experiences, I think I have a deeper understanding and reflection on what happens in court, the people that appear in front of me. I'm actively involved in our community. And as a result of my time on the bench with the STRAT program, Gwinnett Clean and Beautiful, and other organizations. And I think the most important thing is certainly at this point is our backlog due to COVID. As all of you know, we didn't have jury trials for 15 months. And the people that are suffering are the litigants. The people that are in custody, that have had to remain in custody during that time period without a trial. And it is very incumbent and important upon us that we meet with all expediency and get those people to trial, because I would hate to have innocent people sitting in jail. And I think I can bring that to the bench, as I've been doing for the last 2 years.
Thank you for that, Judge Duncan. And Attorney Parker, why should voters support you over your opponent?
To be a judge, one needs to understand how to litigate cases from a plaintiff side, defense side, make rulings. So we all know rules of evidence. We all have litigated cases. So in terms of experience, we all have that understanding of the law and how the law works. However, what differentiates me is my passion to make things different, to make things better. I have done that in Gwinnett County. A lot of people want to talk about how they come to work and they do X, Y, and Z. Well, that's what you're paid to do. But where your footsteps are shows where your heart is. In the last 2 years alone, I have helped to transform the criminal justice system in Gwinnett County. I have helped with the youth empowerment program. I have helped with the prison doctor. I'm on the Boys and Girls Club board. I'm the ambassador for Gwinnett County, United Nations 316. And so I understand that, you know, as a community, we have issues and problems, quite frankly, that transcend the court system. However, we need to have people who are actively engaged, very actively involved. And I am definitely that person. The things that I am telling you about are not things that I did in the past 5 or 10 years ago. These are things that I am currently involved in Gwinnett County. And so I know that I can hit the ground running, just as any other attorney or any other judge would be able to do. We have a backlog in Gwinnett County, not only because of the pandemic, but we have a backlog in Gwinnett County because of the growth in population, hence the reason for the 11th seat here in Gwinnett County. So the backlog is nothing new. It's just a matter of getting out of the backlog, climbing up out of the backlog. Another thing is that I have practiced law in 100 of the 159 counties here in Georgia. One of my campaign platforms is with regard to a judicial efficiency committee. I have seen, quite frankly, a lot of inefficiencies in Gwinnett County that just don't happen in other counties. I mean, we were one of the last, just to give you an example, one of the last to have online filing for the second largest county in Gwinnett County, for the second largest county in Georgia. That's unacceptable. And so I've seen another thing. You can get a divorce quicker in Fulton County than you can in Gwinnett County. I've seen the way the process can be streamlined. So I understand that we do things a certain way in Gwinnett County. But I am a person who's all about change, again, with the criminal justice reform that I have helped to implement and have implemented and have been a founding member of here in Gwinnett County, but also with regard to efficiency. Just because we do things one way all the time does not mean that that is the right way. There are other ways and other ideas to make our system more efficient. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Parker. Now we're going to start with you. So take a breath again. And the question that we're going to put to you, Attorney Parker, is, and just to preface it with, the Gwinnett NAACP is an organization who we find ourselves speaking for African American and Black people in this county. And many of the issues that we deal with are directly from this community, as well as other marginalized individuals. So we know what these numbers are for the new Jim Crow. We know that African Americans are arrested, profiled, that our numbers for being imprisoned and having longer sentences. We all know this information. So my question, and if you would start, Attorney Parker, is what are your views on whether the court as a whole deals effectively with racial and gender bias? If you, in 3 minutes, hold on, and I'm going to be timing because I want to make sure that we can get as much in as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Our courts have not done an effective job with regard to racial and gender bias. The statistics show that. Unfortunately, there's what's called the human side of jurisprudence. Judges make decisions, as everyone does, based upon their perspective. They see things a certain way from the seat that they're sitting in. Their lens is different. And we know that the human side of jurisprudence shows that people have implicit biases. But what changes those biases is when we become aware of how we think, what we do. It also, just to more pinpoint the answer to your question, with regard to race, with regard to gender, people of color are disproportionately affected. And one of the things that I know I can personally do is to become involved in other people's cultures. I have literally traveled the world. And I believe that's one of the reasons why I was selected and or appointed to be the ambassador for Gwinnett United Nations 316. As many people know, Gwinnett County is the most diverse county in the Southeast. It is the 6th most diverse county in the country. And so undeniably, we are going to have people from a lot of different races and ethnicities in Gwinnett County. Some people say it's a melting pot. Some people say it's a salad. But we have to be aware of these various cultures. Heck, I don't even have to look far when looking within my own immediate family. And I do say my own immediate family. We are extremely diverse. I have biracial nephews, my foster daughter, we have a lot of ethnicities, different ethnicities.
Coming to 50 seconds.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. And so in short, we have to be aware of implicit biases in the system. We have to be aware of the fact that, yes, people of color and the poor are disenfranchised just because of the way things have been in the past. And we have to be passionate about trying to make a difference. That difference starts with each one of us individually as a judge and in making a decision one case at a time.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, and let me read that same question to you, Judge Duncan.
Yes, ma'am.
What are your views on whether the court as a whole deals effectively with racial and gender bias?
Unfortunately, I'm going to say that I don't think the courts deal effectively with racial or gender bias. And I think that is a big responsibility that we have as members of the bench. There have been many, many times where I've seen people treated differently. And unfortunately, by the time they get before the court, most of the damage has been done. So what I do to make that different is I listen to each individual case that is presented to me and judge it on its merits. I accept people for who they are and where they are and try to render judgment as is appropriate to that individual person and not based on their race or gender. I agree with BT that all persons, all people are born with inherent prejudices. I was in the military in the United States Army Reserve from 1987 to 1995. And as a result of that, I was exposed to people from different cultures, different countries all over the United States, and was able to travel as well. And that really at a young age, because I was 17 when I went in, that really at a young age helped shape my belief system and helped me learn to accept people for who they are and where they are. As a judge, I think it is just incredibly important to make sure that each person is judged just solely on their own circumstances and not try to put my own, because everyone has biases, but not impose my culture or my lifestyle on other people. In the courts, we see divorces from different cultures. We see criminal defendants that are charged from different cultures. And I try to recognize and accept those with understanding and empathy before passing any type of judgment or sentence.
Thank you for that. And we're going to start with you again. Now that we're talking about racial and gender bias, let's get a little bit deeper into that. What do you or will you do to ensure that you are exercising cultural competence in carrying out your judicial duties? So we heard what you did not like from both of you, spoke about what you observed. What would you do personally to make sure that there is this cultural competency is recognized and carried out?
I think education is important, and understanding and being involved in the community at all levels is very important so that we are exposed to that. That's why I work with the STRAP program that's attached to our juvenile court. I'm a volunteer with them, and that's called Seeking the Right Amenable Path for At-Risk Youth. And they have all cultures, African American, Hispanic, Asian. And I think understanding that culture, I also think a very important thing is when I don't understand, I ask questions. It's very important that I place myself in someone else's shoes so that I can understand where they're coming from or what their perspective is. And that's what I've been able to do during my tenure on the bench, whether it was in municipal court. I had a law practice for 19 years, and I represented across the spectrum, African Americans, Hispanics, and Asians. So I've been able to grow through that culture. I also grew up in Washington, D.C., which is very different than the atmosphere here. I've been here since 1986, and growing up in Washington, D.C. Also exposed me to many different cultures. And as a result, I was able to grow up without the biases that I see that are so prevalent here in the South, quite honestly.
Okay. Thank you, Judge Duncan. And Attorney Parker?
Yes.
Okay. Do I need to read it or are you ready?
Oh, no, I'm fine. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yes, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. It is important first to seek to understand than to be understood. And so, with that being said, we must listen and listen intently. Sometimes, however, in the court system, despite the fact that we cannot understand, we may need a translator. And so that is something that we can do to help with these biases. Quite frankly, one of the biggest biases is a result of a language barrier. People will say one thing, they mean another. You'll have and that's why there's such a need for a translator. So that's one of the things that I would do. Additionally, what I've already been doing just as a person, as an individual, is I hang out. I have friends of different cultures and ethnicities, nationalities. So there is nothing different that I would do in that regard. I, again, have literally been all over the world. It's no surprise, and it's no surprise that I have been appointed as the ambassador for Gwinnett United Nations 316. I have an appreciation for cultures that, quite frankly, a lot of people just don't have. And so I know that with my past training, I know that with my past experiences, I will be a great judge who will appreciate the differences in each of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Attorney Parker, for answering that question. I'm going to keep you on screen just to go to the next question, if you don't mind, President Poole.
Okay. Do we have questions from our audience? Because this was a point.
Not yet, but please, if you all are watching, please drop your questions in the chat. Absolutely. I see a number of you are logging on, but nobody's dropped any questions. We've been seeing a number of bad voting rights bills that have affected the way voting is done, even in this upcoming election. So my question is, what role, if any, do the superior courts play in ensuring voting rights of Gwinnett County residents are not violated? That's for you, Attorney Parker. Go ahead.
So that's an interesting question, especially in light of the last election. One of the judges was entrusted with making a decision with regard to if the polling location should stay open or not. And that is something that happens at the Superior Court level. Additionally, there was the county commissioner race previously. And there were issues with regard to the votes then. A Superior Court judge had to make a decision as well. So Superior Court judges have a unique position and have to make sometimes unpopular decisions. But that is what has happened in Gwinnett County. On another level, though, it's important that we all understand the rights that we have with regard to voting. For instance, we need to understand that Gwinnett County previously in the last election had 23 voting boxes. There are now 6 in Gwinnett County. People need to also understand that the drop boxes were open before 24 hours a day. That is no longer the case. They're open, if you will, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and all the drop boxes will now be inside. So people need to understand, as an informed citizenry, what happens with regard to voting. But then they also understand that should things possibly go awry in Gwinnett County, that Superior Court judges do have to sometimes make decisions with regard to if the polls will stay open later, the counting of the ballots. So those things do happen. Thank you.
Thank you. And if Edward, if you would put that question to Judge Duncan, please.
You want me to reread the question to Judge Duncan, or you
No,
Yes.
sir, that's not necessary.
Okay, great.
So with respect to voting rights, we've certainly seen a jockeying back and forth between the parties over certain issues. The courts aren't involved in regarding the legislature and what the bills are passed. The Superior Court judges are required to follow the law as it is written, whether we agree with it or not. And Attorney Parker was correct. During the last election, one of the Superior Court judges had to make a decision about whether or not to keep the polls open. So what is required is someone would have to file, I believe that particular instance was filed as an emergency motion and was brought before our chief judge at the time in determining whether or not to keep the polls open, and he did not for whatever reasons. I think it's incumbent, as Ms. Parker said, that people be educated about what the rules and what the laws are, and contact your legislators, if you don't agree with what the current bill is, to try and help enforce those changes that you want as to be made. And it's very important that they be educated. The Superior Court has a very limited role in those things, and we can only rule on what is brought before us.
All right, thank you. And we do got a question in the chat. I'll bring it up. It's from Zenaida Martin. It says, how does judges deal with high caseloads and fatigue that comes along with it? You can answer that.
Sure.
Which one of us?
I'm sorry. Judge Duncan, since I got you on screen, you go ahead and I'll go to.
Yes, sir. That's a great question, Ms. Martin. We work a lot. We work a lot, and we work late. With respect to fatigue, because of the high caseloads in Gwinnett County, every day a Superior Court judge throughout each division takes in 8 more cases. So we get 8, and that's the average of 8 cases a day. Well, if you think about it, if you're only trying 2 cases in a day and 8 more are coming in, those numbers just continue to build. One of the things that Gwinnett County really needs actually is more Superior Court judges. We have 11 Superior Court judges for almost 1 million people. And that makes it difficult. I think what's really important that we do, and that our responsibility, is efficiency and how we deal with those cases, scheduling those cases. While the pandemic has certainly slowed us down, what it has also done is forced the Supreme Court of Georgia to change their rules so that we can be more efficient, so that we can have court via Zoom. And those things have enabled us to be a lot more efficient now that the courts are 100% open.
Okay, and if we could have that same question for Attorney Parker, please. Again, how do judges deal with high caseloads and fatigue that comes along with it?
So this may surprise some people, but it is what it is. Judges are not immune from fatigue. They're not immune from stress. Quite frankly, judges, attorneys are known to be alcohol abusers, huge alcohol abusers. And so because of that, the state bar, they have programs, they have mental health series, they have mental health sessions that attorneys and judges can participate in. Most people don't realize it, though, but judges suffer the same kind of issues with regard to stress and fatigue just as others do. Now, on a personal note, I don't drink at all, so that's not me. We're not talking about me in particular, but unfortunately, I have seen a lot of that with regard to my colleagues. And you have to press through. You have to do what you have to do to maintain. Again, the courts here are backlogged. And so judges still have the responsibility to maintain regardless of what is going on in their personal life. So it's all about doing what you have to do to get through it, and then sometimes just reaching out and getting help. And I also say this from a perspective of my sister is a psychologist in Atlanta. My cousin is a psychiatrist in Buckhead. And so I hear about the different things that happen with regard to mental health. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I've got another question since we're talking about the personal side of a judge. Since prosecutors are assigned to your courtroom and have developed a rapport with you and your staff, how do you practically maintain objectivity, and equally as important, maintain the perception of objectivity? We'll start with you, Attorney Parker.
That is true. You typically have a group of prosecutors or a team of prosecutors who is assigned to a courtroom. You see them all of the time. But despite such, and just you develop a rapport with them. You also have, the contrary to that, a lot of defense attorneys who you see quite frequently as well. And so as a judge, despite your relationship, your professional relationship, and even sometimes your personal relationship with people who come before you, you still have to maintain that objectivity. I have been a prosecutor. I have been a defense attorney. And so I know that that is something that I would be able to do in terms of objectivity and the human side of jurisprudence, making sure to be fair and impartial to all parties. Thank you.
Okay. And Judge Duncan, if you could answer that for us.
Yes, ma'am. Each judge is typically assigned. Each judge, I'm sorry, my German Shepherd just came in the room. That would be one of the ways that I deal with fatigue is my German Shepherd. Each judge is assigned a particular group of prosecutors that are assigned to their division. They do rotate every couple of years, but we do form relationships and familiarity with them, as well as the attorneys that appear, defense attorneys or even divorce attorneys. I think it's extremely important that the appearance of impropriety be avoided at all costs. One of the things that we've instituted in the last couple of years is it used to be back in the late 2018-17, the DAs actually had access to our back hallways. And the secure hallways where the judges and their staff were. And we've changed that so that they are no longer allowed back without permission or without escort. And it's not because they've done anything wrong, but it was because of the appearance of impropriety and the familiarity. I think it's, as judges, many people appear professionally in my courtroom. And while I know them from that sense, we don't associate with them outside of the courtroom unless it's at a bar function or a professional function. They're professional relationships. It's extremely important to me always, as in all cases, but especially defense criminal cases, that the criminal defendant be protected 100%. And that is a judge's duty, is to make sure that the state is not overriding its boundaries. And so as judges, we have to hold them up to that line to protect the rights of the accused, because they're the most important person. And that's what our Constitution is founded on.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm going to give a quick caveat right now, because one of the things that the NAACP in Gwinnett County has is a legal redress committee. And we get many calls, and some of those calls are regarding that the court-appointed attorneys are not representing them, or they're undertrained or not experienced. And that's one of the biggest complaints that we do have as a civil rights organizations. And again, I wanted to note that Gwinnett County has court-appointed attorneys instead of a public defender. So that in that way, I'm going to slide into this other question. I know we're going to have to start wrapping it up because as you let us know previously, Judge Duncan, that you have to leave, but we would be remiss if we did not ask about juvenile offenders who come to the Superior Court. So let's start with you, Judge Duncan. What do you believe to be the root causes for the high number of juvenile offenders? What changes can the court system make to reduce these numbers? And then even to add to that, those who are charged as an adult instead of those who are charged, they come into this court charged as adult, to make that clear to our public.
I think from my perspective, it appears to be the biggest catalyst is the amount of gang activity in Gwinnett County. It's quite frightening and concerning, and I think that has increased gang activity and the number of guns that are on our streets. I think that has increased youthful offenders, and only for the 7 deadlies, and that would be murder, rape, child molestation, trafficking, kidnapping, and armed robbery. Those are the only offenses for which someone 13 or older could be transferred from juvenile court to Superior Court and tried as an adult. Ultimately, it is incumbent upon the DA's office and the criminal defense attorneys to argue and file motions to remove a case from Superior Court back to juvenile court. And I think that is going to always be based on the circumstances surrounding the particular charges for which that person is charged. And to mention President Poole regarding Gwinnett County's indigent defense, unfortunately, in the last 5 years, we have seen a decrease, and the pandemic really hurt Gwinnett County as it pertains to our criminal defense bar. Indigent Defense Fund provides for court-appointed attorneys in Gwinnett County, and we quite simply don't have the number of attorneys volunteering to be a part of that system anymore. Or because of the pandemic, a lot of the older, more experienced attorneys have actually since retired. So that is a problem that needs to be addressed. And we need not just the courts, but also all of the working parts, the sheriff's department, the DA's office, and the courts to figure out a way to solve that problem.
Okay. So we have an attorney shortage. I just needed to make
Yes,
sure.
ma'am. And a court reporter shortage as well.
Okay.
We've been provided with funds from both the federal and state government called ARPA for COVID relief due to our backlog, so that we can have extra or senior judges sitting to provide additional trials to get through the backup in the case log. The problem is we can't staff. We don't have enough court reporters. That's our biggest shortage right now, honestly, in trying or providing additional judges and divisions to be able to hear us. We're unable to hire or find court reporters that will actually work. They make too much money out in the private sector for them to want to come and work in the courts. That's another problem that we're trying to address.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am.
And Attorney Parker, would you like me to read the question?
Sure. I thought I heard about 3 questions, but I mean, that's okay.
No, I can do that. I can please do that for you. Let me get back to it. It was several layers, but what do you believe to be the root causes for the high numbers of juvenile offenders, and what changes can the court system make to reduce these numbers? And we noted the caveat about the system and how the system is a court-appointed system instead of a public defender system.
So one of the root cause for the high number of juvenile offenders is lack of education. A lot of our youthful offenders don't understand that they can be tried as an adult for the 7 deadlies or other crimes. They don't understand that if it's more than an ounce of marijuana, that it can be a felony. They don't understand that if you steal $500 of merchandise, it's a misdemeanor. But if you steal $501 of merchandise, it's a felony. So we have to do much better in terms of educating our youth. We have to do much better, because otherwise we're going to continue to have this same cycle. And that's unfortunate. As a Boys and Girls Club board member, as a board member of the Prison Doctor, I am passionate about educating our youth. Earlier, I had talked about how me being on the Prison Doctor board has helped me with our community. But we also have to have people such as the Prison Doctor who can talk with our youth, and they can deal with our youth on a personal level because they talk the same talk. Our Prison Doctor was incarcerated for 20 years just for carjacking. And now we have a successful program in which we are reaching out to youth, not only in Gwinnett County, but in other surrounding counties. We may be going nationally soon. There may be a Netflix movie about us soon. And so there's a lot that goes into educating. And in order to educate properly, we have to have the right people. So for instance, to have myself or a judge talk to our youth, it doesn't necessarily make a difference. But if there's somebody who has been in the system, if they educate, if they talk to them, if they mentor them, that can make a difference. With regard to the system that we have here in Gwinnett County, yes, we do not have criminal defenders, a criminal defense system here. We have different court-appointed attorneys. And so a lot of people have said it's a political reason that we have that. And I'm not going to get into all of that. But we have a problem. We have an attorney shortage here. Some people think that it's a talent shortage as well. I've heard that. Sometimes people believe that a court-appointed attorney is someone who is younger, who just got out of school, but that's not necessarily the case. I can tell you of several attorneys who are court-appointed attorneys who are very, very, very good at what they do. Several of them. But again, we have a shortage here in Gwinnett County. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. We have so many, many more questions, but at this point, we want to be respectful of Judge Duncan. We're at this point. If you can give us your elevator speech, Judge Duncan, tell the beloved community, tell the African-American audience that you're speaking to now, why Judge Angela Duncan would represent the Superior Court judge, and why we should vote for you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, President Poole. First, let me again say thank you for inviting me on here today, and Ms. Parker. It's truly an honor to have the opportunity to speak with everyone and for everyone to learn more about me. I think what's most important are my qualifications and experience. While I've only been a Superior Court judge for the last 2 years, I've literally spent my life in Gwinnett County, my professional life in Gwinnett County since 1986, and have been a judge since 1999. And I've used that time in my community across all cultures, learning how to be a judge, because it's not everybody can be an attorney, but not everybody can be a judge. It's very different. It's a different mindset. And it's extremely important that one have the judicial experience and demeanor in order to operate a efficient, effective court. It's also very important, I think, and my experience bears this out. My record bears this out, that I serve my community because I love it. My family has grown up here. My boys both graduated from Mountain View High School in 2017 and 2019. I've been that mom on the soccer field. I've been in the cafeteria helping with lunch. My stepmother is Korean, and so I've been actively engaged in the Korean American community since I was 15 years old, and I love Gwinnett. I have a passion across the board for Gwinnett County, and I believe that I uphold the Gwinnett standard, and I want to make it better. And that's why I'm here, is because I want to make sure that the citizens of Gwinnett County, when they come in my courtroom, I want to make sure that they are heard. I want to make sure that they have an opportunity to present whatever it is that they need to present. And I want to make sure that both sides uphold the law and that the rule is balanced across the board. I'll thank you for your vote on May 24th. Early voting starts May 2nd. And if you have any questions, you can go to duncanforgwinnett.com. My phone number is there. As long as you don't have an active case in my division, I am happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you for your views. Thank you for speaking with us today. Attorney Parker, if you would give us your elevator speech and why should the African American community vote for you? Why, and if you would give us your elevator speech, we would like to hear that.
Thank you. With regard to experience, if you have been an attorney who has practiced civilly and criminally, if you've represented plaintiffs and defendants, then you are qualified to be judge. I have represented everyone across the board. I've represented the rich, the poor, celebrities, corporations. As long as you can impartially adjudicate, then you are qualified to be judge. I am a servant leader for justice. That is what separates me. I have done a lot of volunteer work. I have helped transform the criminal justice system here in Gwinnett County. Why? Because I am passionate. I am not paid to do the things that I do. I do it because I am passionate. I am very proud of being a founding member of the Youth Empowerment Initiative. I am proud of the established relationships I have in the community. I am proud of the fact that Gwinnett County now has a rehabilitation program. I am very proud of the fact that we're trying to stop recidivism with Rehabilitation Enables Dreams. If you want someone who is a pioneer in terms of criminal justice reform, if you want someone who has been an advocate for our children, if you want someone who has been a champion for community safety, if you want someone who has made a true difference in Gwinnett County, then I ask for your vote and I ask for your support. I will continue to bridge the gap between the community and the court because I am a servant leader for justice. BT Parker, please be sure to marker. I ask for your vote and your support on May 24th. Thank you.
Thank you. We've had a wonderful exchange with Judge Duncan, with Attorney Parker. There's so many more questions that we have. Hopefully, we can get information out where we get your platform statement so that people see in writing what you believe and that this beloved community called the Gwinnett NAACP will hold you to those standards. We will hold you to those standards. So at this moment, we're going to be sending out some questions and looking for that platform so that we can send it out. People can read it. And then whomever is elected, we will hold you to those standards.
Please do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's get some housekeeping. Again, we are here for an hour today because of the time frame with our candidates. First of all, I want to say kudos and thank you for everyone who tuned in with us today. I'd also like to say thank you to Vice President Paul and the leader of our PAC committee. I want to say thank you to our Secretary, Adrian Johnson, who is so she is outreaching, contacting, confirming. It's a lot of work that the Gwinnett NAACP that we do as volunteers. I want to thank our Legal Redress Committee for coming up with these questions today. There are too many to name. So Team Legal Redress, thank you. And I just want to thank all of you out there today who formulated questions. Please join us. Join the Gwinnett NAACP. We are here as volunteers. Go to our website. Join us. We also have great news that our youth unit is being reestablished. Look out for the information that's coming out for their meeting April 16th. Again, they will be meeting April 16th, and they're setting the stage to make sure that our youth have this training, education, and safe spaces so that they do not become statistics in Gwinnett County. Again, Edward, do you have any announcements? Are there announcements from our viewership today?
The only announcement I have is we have another Meet the Candidate forum that will be held on at the same time next Sunday at 5 p.m. on House District 106. We do have two Democratic candidates that's running for that position: House of Representative Rebecca Mitchell and Representative House Representative Shelley Hutchinson. Also join us for our general meeting, which will be on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. We have two Superior Court races that we'll be doing an hour apiece, one between 7 and 8, and then we'll have the next set of candidates between 8 and 9, and that'll be the second Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. If I'm not mistaken, that's April the 12th is what our general meeting is. Whatever the second Tuesday, I think it is April the 12th. I'm not looking at a calendar.
Well, I'll get that date for you because the month is coming in early this time. So here we go.
Yeah,
we
April
should have
12th. Yeah,
that.
I just glanced. It's April 12th, 7 o'clock.
Wonderful. So our general monthly meeting is 7 o'clock on April 12th. Please come out and join us. Again, there's so much happening in the community. We want to get our voices heard. We need volunteers to attend these meetings. We need you to attend your Board of Commission meetings, your Board of Registration and Election meetings, your Board of Education meetings, so that you know what's going on. We need you to contact your elected officials, your state Senate representative, your state House representative, so that they can know what they need to vote on and what your particular community needs. Remember, everything is jurisdictional to what you, your family, that you need. And the only way to relay that is to speak up and to show up and to make sure that your voice is heard. We're coming again from the beloved community, going on an hour right now. And the Gwinnett NAACP thanks you. Please be safe. Please wear your mask. Please look out for our beloved community. If that's it, Edward, I think this meeting is adjourned. We're adjourned. Any other comments?
Again, join us next Sunday at 5 o'clock for the House District candidates for the Democratic Party for House District 106. We'll have Representative Hutchinson and Representative Mitchell on to state why they will make the best candidate to represent the Democratic Party in-house District 106. For those who don't know what part of the county that is, that's mostly Snellville. So if you live in Snellville, it's a pretty good chance you are in-house District 106. You can double check that by going to www.mvp.sos.ga.gov, and also check your voter registration status. Make sure you haven't been purged off the voter rolls, and also check what your new districts are. Because of redistricting, a lot of the people's House districts and Senate districts at the state level has been reshuffled. So please check where you are. Maybe even your congressional district. That's my daughter trying to get into this program. Look, y'all have a good night. Thank y'all for joining us, and we'll see you again here at 5 o'clock next Monday.
And we lift you up in peace. We lift up our Heavenly Father. We thank him for everything that has been done today. We thank him for walking, talking, and speaking for us, his people, today. Bless God. I bless my God, Jesus. Please bless your God. Amen. 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 Thank you for coming out today.
Yeah.